So hi everybody, for those that don't know me, my name's Pip. I am an HR people person and I support small and medium businesses to solve their people problems, increase employee engagement and retention, and generally put some pizzazz in your people plans. So this is the next in my series of chats with people that I collaborate with, and across whole variety of topics. Today's subject is we're back on employee wellbeing, which I'm really pleased about because there's so much you can do as an employer under employee wellbeing. And today I'm really pleased to say that I'm joined by Heather from Evolve Counselling. So Heather, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about Evolve and the kinds of things that you do.
Okay, hi, I'm Heather Knapp. I work for Evolve Counselling. We were for 42 years Cambridgeshire Consultancy and Counselling, but as you can tell, that's quite a mouthful. So we rebranded this year to Evolve. We provide quality counselling support to anyone over 16, but primarily to businesses to support their staff. Okay. Obviously, it's Mental Health Awareness Week this week, so it's a really good opportunity. Thanks very much for inviting me. It's very fortuitous timing. And it's a good time for everybody to just think about, you know, particularly as people are going back into the workplace, might have different emotions about how they feel about this face-to-face in-person setting again. It's a really good opportunity to talk to your staff and actually find out how they're feeling. But also we do run facilitated groups so that if people don't really feel they can be open with their management team, then we can facilitate that for you and feedback some very general comments and information.
And as you say, you know, I think coming out of restrictions, out of the lockdown, wherever we are, I think it's a good time, you know, as potentially we start to transition back to the office as well. It's a good time for employers to be talking to their staff about how it's affected them, because just because it's over doesn't mean it hasn't affected them, but also how they're feeling about some of that. Another change, you know, more change, although it's back to some semblance of normality, but it will be a different normal. It's going to feel different, and everybody's had a different experience of this time. So I think it's a really good thing to have in place. You know, a lot of the businesses that I've been employed in my career, sorry, there's drilling in the background, and a lot of the businesses that I've been employed in my career have had, you know, an employee assistance program where counselling is part of that offering. But I think what's nice about what you do is actually if employers just wanted to buy that one-off service.
Absolutely. We are particularly attractive to SMEs, in fact, for precisely that reason. Okay. If you don't have an employee assistance program, or even if you do, but they don't deal with certain things or they limit you to 6 sessions, it's really nice to be able to offer something else on a pay-as-you-go basis. So it's good to have a support agreement set up, and then you can just refer people as and when you need to on an ad hoc basis. If you never refer anyone, you don't pay a penny. But at least it's there and your staff know it's there. It gives them the message, you know, my organisation values me, they value my well-being, and that only leads to improved staff loyalty, better staff retention, you know, more engaged teams.
Well, I'm all about,
obviously, you know, less absence.
And I think I did a wellbeing webinar that I think you came along to, and there were some stats in there that, you know, the businesses that do have some sort of wellbeing proposition for their people, whatever that is, tend to see lower levels of sickness absence, you know, higher productivity. There are some commercial benefits to looking at well-being for your business, not only as a good thing to do for your people, but actually as a commercial decision, because there are some tangible benefits that come from
it. So, and you know, if
you do like a pay-as-you-go, you know, actually if it was maybe someone was experiencing an issue and you just wanted, you know, one session or one set of sessions for that individual, or you end up having that as something that you just offer to everybody and it's a regular part of your business, then great. That flexibility, I think, when you're a small and medium business is good, because that's
absolutely, and we recognise that because not everyone has the funds. You know, with what we've been through over the past year, all businesses are in a precarious position, or a lot of businesses are in a precarious position. So to be able to just dip in as and when, and if you see someone struggling, the other side of what we do is working with managers to give them the skills to be able to actually identify when somebody's struggling, because with mental health issues, early intervention is absolutely key to how long it will take you to, you know, work with that person and how quickly they will get on top of their problems. So if you give your managers the tools to be able to notice when somebody actually might be struggling, and they don't just say, how are you, I'm fine, and they're not, but also how to have the conversations in the right way. So you've got a really supportive environment, and that person takes responsibility for signposting or whatever, but they know where their boundary is, because they should not be calling you at midnight to tell you their woes. That's beyond your area of responsibility.
I think
as a manager.
I was talking to someone yesterday, and I kind of said, historically HR and personnel was very much the place that those things got given, because managers weren't equipped with the skills to have those conversations. And I've never been formally trained, but I've sort of learned how to deal with those issues and talk to people when they're having a crisis or whatever it is, because welfare is part of what we do, but HR has moved on far from that. We do so much else as well. And I think the businesses that understand it's not just anything emotional goes to HR. Actually, if you equip your line managers, there's a lot that people can do. I was talking to a manager last week where somebody they had a relationship breakdown and they were having some housing issues. So they were living in a B&B, but that was obviously financially prohibitive for them. And the business was saying, well, we can give you a salary advance, but only so far. And the manager was kind of saying, well, how far do I go? What do I do? And, I was sort of saying to him, well, if it were me, I'd be signposting to something like Citizens Advice Bureau, because actually, I don't know specifically what they do, but they're the right place to start, because they're an agency where they might signpost you off to benefits or whatever it is. There might be something that could be helpful. And actually, he'd never heard of Citizens Advice Bureau. He's quite a young man. Wow. He'd never heard of it. And I said to him, and he was like, I feel really silly. And I said, well, if you don't need to use it, you've never come across it, why would you? So don't feel silly, but actually now it's there. This is what it is. I sort of sent him the web link and said, this is it. It's just, your role isn't to fix the problem. It's just about signposting in a really responsible and helpful way.
Giving the right support, saying the right things. There's been too much of this, buck up, stiff upper lip in the past. And, we don't want that either. But equally, you're not there to be their personal counsellor and fix everything for them.
No, but I think if you set that tone in your culture, that actually you can speak to your manager without judgment, and it's about asking for help and accessing help
and making it okay to ask for help.
It's not, I think we have to be clear, it's not about, by offering employee wellbeing as an employee, you're not saying I'm going to support you to the nth degree, or I'm going to financially support you. I'm not, it's about saying practically what can we do to help and support you, because actually that's where you get into that might commercially help somebody stay at work versus go off sick if they're signposted.
Definitely. And that's the important point. We're not throwing good money after bad here. There are studies that show investment in wellbeing gives you up to a 5-to-1 return on investment. So it really makes commercial sense for businesses to spend that time and that money investing in their staff, who are, one of our most important parts of our businesses.
I think on the webinar, I kind of said, I'm not a fan of wellbeing programs that feel like, right, we've got some things in and tick, we've sort of done wellbeing. It is an evolving thing, but having something like what you offer with that sort of constant program of counselling available if people need it.
And this is where you're putting together a wellbeing strategy is so important, because there are so many different options out there that I'm sure small businesses or small business owners can get a little bit bamboozled by what they actually need, because a mental health first aider is a brilliant tool, but it's not all. And this is what you do, and advising people on an individual basis.
And I think it's very easy to look at what other people are doing and go, I'll just do that, because that's easy, isn't it? But actually that might not be. Having yoga sessions in your business might not work, because that might not be what your people value. Actually, they might value financial well-being or whatever it looks like. So the first step is always talking to your people, and that's sometimes having someone external to come and do that is really useful, because people might open up a bit more if they feel that it's going to lead to something being implemented. And equally, you can do it yourself. You can talk. It is talking to your people and understanding what they need and what they would value. Because if you're going to put something in place and pay for it, you want to make sure it's used at the end of the day.
And you want to make sure it's the right thing for them.
Yeah, and it's perceived as that. For me, that's always the thing. That's what triggers the sort of employees feeling valued and motivated and engaged, is I'm actually getting something that's useful here, as well as
and it's so important to feel that your employer has listened to you. So if you are going to engage in a program of asking people what they want, don't then go, oh no, we're not doing that. You need to get back to them and have the conversation about what's reasonable and what isn't.
I think what I've liked on my networking travels is meeting all these different suppliers, and that's kind of what gave me the idea of, well, actually it's almost like a menu, a bit like flexible benefits. You can have kind of a flexible wellbeing program of you have this menu of what's available, and you then select kind of what's right for your business and your culture, and the tone that you want to set about well-being and the language that you want to use. So that's the beauty, is you can slot into that as a supplier, and then it could be the training sessions for managers, or it could be the counselling. You know, it doesn't have to be everything you do. People can kind of select the bits that are relevant for them, or try it, you know.
Indeed. And you've just brought up a really interesting point actually about language, because we have certain clients for whom we provide counselling for their staff, but because words like mental health and therapy and counselling can be a little bit daunting to some people who are like, oh no, I'm not ill, there's nothing wrong with me. You know, we have some people that call it a talking service or a wellbeing review, and using this different terminology and really understanding how your employees think is a really important part of the process of deciding what you need. So, you know, we can provide that, anything which is basically talking support. All our counsellors are fully qualified, they're all very experienced people, but if what somebody needs is actually just a listening ear, they can also do that too, and that is an important part of well-being.
And I know from the work I do, sometimes if you say to an employee or a manager, do you think counselling would help, that feels quite big. Counselling feels quite formal. It's a bit like when you get HR involved, it feels quite formal, whereas if you just said, you know, would it help if you talk to someone external to the business, just a common objective? Sometimes just that switch of language, obviously you explain it's somebody who's qualified as a counsellor, but just by not calling it counselling as a thing, sometimes it makes it slightly easier and a bit more approachable as a baby step to actually, it might just help you to start here and see how you find it. Okay, good. So we've kind of covered a lot of my questions in that rambly chat there, which was good, because I'm fine with that. But is there anything else that you think would be beneficial for employers to think about around employee wellbeing? Obviously, you've got the mental health training, you've got the counselling offering. Is there anything else that you could potentially offer as services that would help small and medium businesses?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There are various different things, and if you take a look on the website, there's a list of services. But also, if you want to contact me, I'm quite happy to chat through individual needs, because all of our services have come from our existing counselling organisational clients asking us, well, can we do something more proactive, or it's not really counselling, but can you do with this? So we also provide things like support groups, or if there's been a bereavement at work or a traumatic situation and everybody within your team is affected, it's really useful to have that as a group scenario. Likewise, as I said, the wellbeing reviews, they're a useful tool. Anything really which might be helpful and is some kind of talking.
And it can be quite bespoke, which is nice, because sometimes when you buy a sort of employee assistance program, they're great, but they can be quite structured and they don't sometimes have that flexibility.
Yeah, and likewise, EAPs sometimes offer you just 6 sessions.
Yes.
We normally start people off on an assessment plus 6 sessions, but then they have the flexibility. For example, if you're suffering from trauma, 6 sessions are unlikely to be enough. So we don't just leave you hanging. We have the ability then or the flexibility to extend that if that's what's required for that person. And likewise, if somebody doesn't need all 6, we only charge you for what they use.
Okay, that's good. And with the mental health training for managers, what does that look like? Is that sort of a half-day session, full day? How does that work?
Absolutely. We've got a 3-hour workshop, and in fact we've got one coming up very, very quickly. I think there still are spaces, so you can sign up for that on Eventbrite, and it's mental health awareness for managers. And
when's
that? It's a 3-hour session from 10 until 1 on Thursday the 13th, so very soon. So sign up now. If you go on our social media, there are links on there, or search for us on
you'll be presumably, if this goes out after that, you'll be running more of those, because I'm guessing that's
we run them. We can do that at any time for a group of up to 10 people, for a group of people who will all work within the same organisation, and that's what we do most often. So I'm talking to an organisation at the moment, and they want us to tailor the terminology because they have a very specific company culture, and it's we look at working with people to become a peer support group in a way. But this is just as if you're a small organisation, you just want to send 1 or 2 people, or indeed if you're a larger organisation but you want to use it as a taster and see what it's like and see if they feel it's right for them, you can just sign up one person at a time, and it's just £65 for the 3 hours. The other thing I should mention, we do run, because mental health first aiders, as I said, they're a really useful part of your wellbeing strategy, but they're not everything. And if these are the people that people are going to talk to all the time, they also need support. So it's really, really important that you give them the opportunity to have some kind of peer support situation every few months. And we run those groups. We do refresher training for them, but also having the facility for them to be able to have a counselling session every now and again is really, really useful, or a reflective practice session. Because
the point.
Get
if you're the person that listens all the time, who listens to you?
Absolutely. Even our counsellors have to have clinical supervision. So, it's about helping the helper.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I think there's been a sort of rush and a popularity to put mental health first aid into businesses, but sometimes it's more of a, it's not more of a publicity thing, but it's to kind of get the message out, look, we're doing this, isn't it great? And I think sometimes that support behind it
isn't there. I think people underestimate sometimes the burden that those people can feel when they're just having people come to them all the time with
I know how it feels.
problems.
I've been that person. I think for me, I've always had that kind of reality of, well, actually my job's to signpost. I'm not here to fix everything, but I'm here to listen, and I'm here to I'm quite a practical person. So, if I can help and signpost you to someone that's helpful, then I'll do that. But I think if you're not equipped with that when you're asked to be a mental health first aider, it can feel like you're taking on quite
absolutely. And this is why mental health first aiders fulfill a very different role, really, to the management training, the managers, in terms of supporting staff. And that's why it's not always appropriate for your management team to be mental health first aiders. They should be people that generally people go to anyway. The management viewpoint is slightly different, and they should be actually not just waiting for people to come to them, but looking out for signs and issues, and being able to have their performance reviews in the right way. And I
think it's, we've always in HR, I guess it's kind of where it's evolved over time. We've always encouraged managers to ask, is there anything else going on that you want to talk to me about? Not just about tasks and objectives. It's understanding what people have got on their plate, because everyone's life happens. Everyone's got stuff going on, and actually
now,
exactly. But I think because we're in our homes and we've seen children in the background, dogs barking, building work going on, we've all seen what everyone's juggling. In a way, the permission to have those discussions is probably a little bit easier now, which is good. It's helped. But I think there's still a level of comfort that needs to come with asking. It's all right if someone comes to you and wants a conversation, but actually as a manager being empowered to ask in the right way and broach that conversation is still a big thing. So
it's about being able to initiate that conversation, but also when somebody comes to you and says it's perhaps I've been having suicidal thoughts, knowing how to respond to that in the right way, because for most people that's quite a traumatic thing to hear, and they feel a great deal of responsibility of, what if I handle this wrong? So it's really important that we have those conversations.
And who do you tell, who do you talk to, all of that. I've always, I suppose in HR we always get the can I have a confidential conversation, and it's kind of like, well, it sort of depends what you're going to talk to me about. I always say to people, it kind of depends. I can't promise you that up front without knowing what you're about to tell me. But yes, if it is something we can have a confidential conversation about, I'll tell you. But if not, I might have to tell somebody else, because
I guess as a counselling organisation, we're quite lucky because we can say it is absolutely confidential unless it's apparently you intend to do harm to either yourself or someone else.
Because you are you balance between the employer and the employee. That's your job. You are kind of in the middle of that, and sometimes it's difficult because you're seen as the place people go, but sometimes people find it hard to open up. So I think I've always straddled that. But good, okay. So other than your workshop that you've got coming up, is there any other offers or particular services that you want to talk about?
Well, we run our workshops all of the time. If anybody wants to book one for their organisation specifically, we then only run the open sessions sort of around mental health awareness weeks, which are May, obviously, and October. But if you do book sessions specifically for your organisation, yes, we do have an offer in that if you book more than or two or more, there are discounts available for multiple bookings. So yeah, contact me to discuss what you need really, and we'll find the most appropriate session for you.
And obviously if it's part of a wellbeing strategy or program, then you can come through me, but happy to contact Heather direct as well. Great. And how can people find you? Where are you?
Oh gosh, okay, so on our website, which is www.evolvecounselling.org.uk, because we are a charity, so all our profits go back into providing subsidised support for people on low income. And on there, under About Us, there's a find us on social media, and there's lots of links, and we are on Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn.
And I'll obviously tag you when I post the video,
okay, brilliant.
as well as I have been, so people should just be able to click on the links and make it nice and easy. Well, thanks for joining me. Listen, it's been great to find out about what you do and how you can help employers with employee wellbeing, but the mental health side of it.
And it's great to talk to an HR specialist who gets it so much and who specialises in employee wellbeing. And putting together a wellbeing strategy. I can't stress enough how important it is for even small businesses to at least think about it.
I think sometimes it's having the conversation and understanding you don't have to do everything. It's about sometimes it's about starting small, but being intentional about it and being proactive. And I think that's what I'm keen to promote. You know, we're coming out of probably the weirdest time any of us have ever been through, and I don't know if all of us realise how much it's affected us. Some of us might not realise, some of us will be very aware of how it's affected them. So I think we're much more attuned to that, and I think it's going to hopefully open some of these conversations up. And I think employers have got a really important job to play in that, and that's where we can help. I can help, you can help, we can help them to make sure that they're responding to that.
Absolutely. And I would just say one final point. Our NHS system is amazing, and they have done a fantastic job throughout this pandemic, but they have huge backlogs. And the waiting lists for mental health services particularly are just going up and up and up. So at the moment, I was told the other day that somebody had been quoted 18 weeks for a referral for counselling. So please don't let your staff struggle for that long. We have no waiting list. So if you phone us today, your staff will be seen probably within the week.
Amazing. That's brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Great to talk, and more people chats coming in the next few weeks as ever with all sorts of people that I collaborate with. If there's any topics you particularly like to see out there, then do let us know in the comments or send me a DM. I'm more than happy to see if I know someone or I can find someone who can talk if you've got a particular subject that you'd like me to cover. In the meantime, I hope you're having a great week, and I will see you soon, and I'm sure Heather will see you soon as well.
Thanks very much, Pip.
Bye.
Bye.